Let's take a look at just how the market traded last week. We saw some strong foreign participation coming through, demand helping to boost the NSE 20 overall by 2.2%. Could we see that trend continue this week?
We may see a slump this week in terms of most of the activity last week was basically on a few companies closing their books for the year on their dividends and the bonus issues. Companies like Scan Group, we had Jubilee closing its books, a bit of Thrive also closing its books. So we had a bit of activity on those counters. Equally, we saw a lot of foreign activity, particularly on counters like Safaricom, trading about, 51 million shares last week at an average price of about 385. Basically, we saw foreign buying and selling on that counter. Equally, we saw Equity Bank trading actually about 40 million shares last week at an average of about 24.50, basically driven by enough foreign activity on that counter equally. But this week, we may see a slump in trading activity. This week is actually a short week. We're having a holiday coming up on Wednesday, so we will not see much activity, except for maybe you may see some activity coming in with Uchumi being relisted back tomorrow after a 5-year break from the market. So we may see some activity on that counter.
How do you expect the markets to trade in response to the fact that we have the Monetary Policy Committee meeting tomorrow and deciding on its key lending rate? Is there a consensus on the ground that they are going to be aggressive in the tightening cycle?
Definitely, consensus in the market is that we may see rates up by about 50 bips. This is because we may see the central bank trying to rein in on the inflation rate, and also equally trying and rein in on the weak shilling that we've actually been experiencing in the past 2-3 weeks. Friday we were trading at about levels about 86. Today we're trading at levels about 85.50. We may see some strengthening of the shilling based on the results that are coming out. Equally, we may see some foreign activity based on where the rates actually may be decided as of tomorrow.
Let's drill into individual stocks. Barclays Bank book closure today. It's issuing a share split of 4-1. The stock rallied last week in anticipation of this, up 4.5%, 69 Kenya shillings. What is your outlook for that stock as the day progresses?
We may see it even out at levels of about 69, 69.50. We saw it trade at highs of about 70 last week, with a lot of foreign and local demand coming in for the stock. Actually, we saw investors trying to rally in to close in on the books closure on the split. They're splitting the share 4-1. So you may see the average share price after this coming to levels about 17, 18, which may actually look favorable for the investors who are coming in. So today we may see some activity on that counter as it closes its books today between levels of about 69 and 69.50. I think we may see some seesaw activity on that counter today.
Eveready Batteries has swung to a half-year loss of 72.22 million shillings. Now the bank has been hurt by illicit battery sales, dumping by foreigners like Chinese Chinese corporates in the local Kenyan market, which has seen prices of those batteries decline quite substantially. How's the market reacting to this news that the company hasn't been doing well, and it's expecting to close one of its factories in Kenya, fire some of those workers? So how would you be trading cautiously around the stock at this stage?
For me, Eveready is one of the worrying stocks available in the market right now. We actually been seeing the profits actually dip and turnover dip within even after listing. We actually saw them actually a reduction in profits and in terms of turnover in the past years, and them coming up and saying that they may be forced to close down the factory. They only have one factory in Kenya, which is in Nakuru, and if they end up closing that factory, we may see that actually affect trading on the market. If the factory is closed, what are they intending to do? Are they intending to import their products into the country? They've been talking about unfair competition, cheap products coming in basically from the Asian markets. What are they trying to do in terms of strengthening that market, trying to close down some of those barriers? These are some of the things that everybody should be looking at addressing. They've talked about laying off their workforce. This is one way of actually reducing down their costs to mitigate against the decrease in sales turnover. So that is a bit of a worrying trend. We actually been seeing the stock trading at levels of about 2 shillings and 50 cents, which is quite below its listing price. So we may see some activity on that counter, with investors actually trading cautiously on that counter. I may see more of sell side supply coming in more than demand side coming in on that counter.
Amos, very quickly, we have Centum releasing its results very soon and expected a strong full-year performance from that company. What are your thoughts on the stock ahead of the results release later this week?
We may see some strong demand coming in for Centum, particularly on the basis of profits going up. Well, one thing they actually told us earlier in the month is that they actually disposed of their holding in Kabasi at levels of, they made up making about 1 billion shillings from that transaction. They got in at about 400 million and got out at 1 billion shillings. So the difference there is actually quite huge. They've actually made a substantial profit within 2 years. Basically, we may see a lot of demand coming in for that counter on the basis of the strong performance that they've actually been able to release, and also in terms of future growth of the company. They're actually diversifying most of their activity from the equity side or the fixed income side to real estate side, which is actually growing in Kenya. So definitely we may see some activity on that particular counter as the week nears towards its announcement. Equally, we may see some activity on Kenya Airways based on the end-of-year announcement that are coming up on Thursday. So we may see some activity. It's been holding at levels of about 39.40, so we may see some activity on counter based on the fact that they have actually reported that they have actually seen increase in the number of flights, increase in the number of cargo that they are actually transporting. So we may see some activity on that counter as the week close to an end.